Whoa there, Space Cowboy. Brokeback Bebop is a podcast with explicit content intended only for mature bounty hunters. Listener discretion is advised. Listen to all 40 steamy sessions of the show right now by supporting Brokeback Bebop at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast.
I think it's time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay.
3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Bow now, bow now, bow now, bow wow, 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 wow.
Hey everybody out there, welcome to Brokeback Bebop. I'm Zach.
I'm Steven.
And I feel like I'm starting to get the hang of this thing, both of doing this little side podcast and of watching the program that we're talking about. What do you think? Am I getting there?
You're getting there. I think we'll see how well you comprehended this week, Zach.
Sure.
But I think that you're starting to get it.
Sure.
More and more.
Sure. I'll make monkeys of you all.
There we go. Now that's the point.
How you doing today, man? What's going on in your head?
I'm good. You know, I'm excited to be here doing the show with you. Excited to be watching some Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
It's always a treat to rewatch this one for me. So I'm happy to be here talking about it.
Yeah, what are some things we can talk about before we get into it? You know, this episode makes me think about evolution a little bit. Because the connection of humans to monkeys.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what your growing up was, and we didn't really talk about it in my home, but I know we both grew up like religious and in deeply religious families, and in good ways and bad, whether you stick or stray from the religion as you get older, it affects a lot of things about you as you become an adult. For me, as someone who's not exactly religious, it's hard to shed all of the guilt that being religious can cause of the like doing certain things are bad and you should feel bad about it and God is sad that you're doing that. Even when you don't, it's hard, like, and that was instilled in us when we're tiny, like teeny tiny. So it's hard
shame
to,
is a big motivator in our relationship. So
well, right. It used to be like keeping it just between us desperately was like where all the fire came from. But now everybody knows, and that's a whole other kind of fire. But what I was trying to get that towards is evolution. Growing up, like as a religious kid at a religious school, it was like a laughing stock. It's like,
sure.
What? People came from monkeys?
No way!
And the world's older than 500 years? Pshaw. Dinosaurs were here in the 1920s. Duh. So, where do you stand as far as evolution is concerned?
Well,
as an
I
adult?
still consider myself, fairly religious, but I also am someone who believes in science pretty heavily. I think that the evidence is pretty clear on how evolution worked. And I think that not saying that it was a one-day process where a fish was like, you know what, I think I'm going to open an IHOP. But I think it's shown in nature how animals and even some humans, I saw a video today about a group of humans in Indonesia whose spleens are 30% larger than the average human so they can hold their breath longer and hunt underwater. Like, it's a whole thing.
And all types of animals that like animals grow to have. I don't know the fact well enough to say it really, but like the extra skin that cats have, there's a purpose for it. It's like to help them jump in the wild and stuff like that. And
there's all sorts of stuff.
Kind of glide.
And here's my always answer when everyone's like, well, how are you religious and you believe in evolution? I'm like, well, here's the deal.
That conversation a little bit.
When the Bible was written, I think the concept of science was still relatively new.
You're so right, because
time spans are real fucked up.
The sky, when there's weather and it's nasty and scary out, it's like the sky is angry.
Yeah.
And we don't know why. No, but that's not a joke. That's true. You don't know what it is, and it's fucking terrifying. God must be mad at us for masturbating.
Yeah. Whoever like just like busted a load was like, oh shit, it's my fault, you know?
Okay, well, just because I have a lot of respect for religion, but I have also grown to think that it is pretty silly, and I just feel like rationally there's no fucking way. But I wouldn't take it away from anyone because I see how much good it does in a lot of people that I know. But it kind of feels like, once you see glitches in the Matrix, it's hard to like still enjoy your everyday life as Thomas Anderson, you feel me? Mm-hmm. So I guess what my question is for you that I see people think, I feel like when it comes to religion and science working in tandem, I feel like continuing to be religious at that point is kind of like, it's kind of a choice rather than something that's like inherent in you if you don't believe in science. Do you feel that way at all? Like, I don't know. I'm not trying. I hope there's no jaggedness behind that. What do you mean? Because I love.
No, I actually don't know what you're.
I'm trying to think if I can say it better, and I might not be able to. I just feel like so many things about science and the world and the things that we know now, because we're not living 2,000 years ago and we're not afraid of the sky, that I feel like being religious and like being able to think I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know. It's.
Are you saying that you think it's hard to be like
it's
religious with all the science and evidence that it's proof?
It's hard for me to voice it because it's something I'm like. I don't consider. I think atheist is such a harsh word, kind of, and I don't really know or care that much at this point in my life. But I'm very interested in it, and I'm still kind of finding out my spirituality or lack thereof. So I can't really voice it that well either. But I'm thinking more like...
I also think there's a big difference between religion, spirituality, and then taking a text as like 100% fact.
Okay,
so I think that's where the issue is I think there's a difference between
and not
saying
only
everything in the Bible
text is fact, but taking like, okay, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but there was like this thing called the True Love Waits Bible, that like the whole Bible and the whole like point of True Love Waits, kind of like a focus on the family thing, was about like waiting until marriage. And in the Bible, there's like 3 or 4 verses that hint towards the waiting towards marriage thing. It is not like a hard law in the Bible.
No.
And in fact, there are hundreds of verses talking about all the wives people had and all of that stuff, right? So it's not only taking the text literally, but taking the couple of bits of the text literally that affirm what you are being either taught by your surroundings or like things about homosexuality or things about how, I don't know. This is a weird tangent to go down, but
I'll just say I think that you also have to know the history of the Bible and the different iterations and how much it's changed over time based on who was king and who was the head of the Catholic Church and things like that. It influenced it a lot. I think there's a big difference between saying everything in the Bible is totally accurate.
And also going back as far as religious. The people who wrote the Bible, some of the disciples and some of the people that wrote the New Testament books, they have some like Benjamin Franklin type skeletons in their closet. And there are people who write as if all of the miracles totally did happen, and people that kind of write more in the Bible about like the people in the gatherings and not so much about like the how can we put a bow on this conversation, because I find it
I don't know,
way
Zach.
more interesting than this 30-minute Cowboy Bebop podcast is gonna have. I don't know. I just find it interesting. I would love to have a deeper conversation about this at some point. So maybe we should just put a bow on it. But you do believe in evolution.
I think that I think that we have to take the time frames that are mentioned in old texts with a grain of salt.
Sure.
They didn't have Apple Watches. Keep in there.
And record keeping. Like, the record keeping even not that long before we were born or our grandparents were born. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, think about how much daylight savings time fucks everything off, you know? So really, they didn't have that yet.
Right.
So.
And like what time zone were they in Galilee? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, we're here to talk about Cowboy Bebop. I was thinking going into this, I like having like a 5 to 10 conversation about something that's lightly connected before
So
we get
you
into
picked
it.
religion and
So-
evolution as the quick little water cooler talk?
I didn't go into it expecting the religious talk to come out. I've been listening a lot to a podcast lately that is a comedian who grew up like me, very religious, and also like me as he got older, strayed pretty far from it, but still kept like that. Like I explained that like guilt and stuff that you have as a kid. That stuff, like the stuff that we're taught as like Midwesterners and the type of religion that is around here. I think there's a lot of poison that's put into us as kids that is hard to grow out of. That is really bad. Not to say religion is bad, but that is bad. The people who are telling you all the stuff are just people who don't know anything too. You need to like interpret things for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So it's hard to get over that guilt. Why did I get back on this? Why did I start
I don't
talking
know,
about
Zach.
this?
And don't listen to don't drink the Kool-Aid. Just because your school teacher says that someone was bad doesn't mean that they weren't a fucking hero.
All I'm saying is Jesus was a lizard person, and so is Ted Cruz.
You can't see this at home, but Zach is wearing a official Joe Rogan podcast hat.
Okay, Cowboy Bebop, whatever. Okay, we're talking about episode 4. It's Gateway Shuffle. This episode was storyboarded by Yoshiyuki Takei. I believe the last one was as well. It was directed by Yoshiyuki Takei. Takei? You said Takai. Well, because you say that all the vowels. And it was written by Sadayuki Mirai. It originally aired in Japan on April 10th, 1998. It originally aired in the US on September 10th, 2011. We can curb this, right? We can lighten the mood. Right?
Yeah, let's talk about 9/11. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the episode
9/10.
originally aired September 10th, 2001 in the US. Because I think also we should be able to have said the stuff that we said and be like, well, that was fun and probably all bullshit. Let's talk about cartoons.
Let's
Yeah?
do it.
Are you mad at
Yeah.
me, Steven?
No, Zach.
Do you still
I'm not
like
mad
me?
at you.
Do you still
Yeah.
like me? Let's do some trivia. I only wrote down 2 questions for you.
I think I have 2 for you as well, Zach.
Okay, how does Morgan like his sea rat prepared?
Oh, I don't know. Seared? Well done.
Sautéed.
Sautéed. Ooh. Who was the spy in the terrorist organization? What was his name? The mole.
The spy in the terrorist organization, the mole. Would it have been... So one of the mommy boys, right? Is that who we're
Sure.
saying? Was it like Nathaniel?
No, the one that they killed was named Gim.
I did not hear that name at all. At all. And my other question, what is Mom's bounty?
Ooh, 25 million?
24
Or is it
million.
24 million. Ah, it's close.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's what I heard.
No, I'll go with you. What was the virus called?
Monkey business.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so now my brain has no Cowboy Bebop in it, so give me a second to
Oh,
like,
Zach, you get no
chill the
reprieve.
fuck out. Okay.
It's time for our next segment, friends. We're going to find out, did Zach comprehend the episode this week? Did you comprehend the episode? How do you feel, Zach? You feel like you understand it pretty well?
Well, you're getting really good at this. You did a good job introducing
Thanks.
that and carrying afterwards. Pause for the music and everything.
I did.
I do think I comprehended this episode quite well. This is my favorite episode so far of the show. And it's just, again, a matter of, have I put it together in my head well enough to say it in a timely
To be fair, Zach, in the interest of honesty, you did ask me a pretty pivotal plot point.
I did, but I think this one was maybe a little bit more understandable than last one. I just didn't get.
I'll give you that. It was more.
I just didn't
You
get.
should have got that.
I should have got it, but I didn't get that it was related. I thought it was like Faye going off on her own thing in the beginning, and I never really got the click that it was tied in with
all
the rest
tied together.
Yeah, it is.
Everything. The thread,
Well, everything is
the
even
timeline.
the sea rat when they're talking about it in the beginning. Yeah. Okay.
All right, are you ready, Zach?
No.
Well, we're gonna get started.
Yeah.
On go, obviously. 3, 2, 1, go.
So Jet and Spike are after a bounty, and they end up taking in the mother-like figure of a terrorist organization that's based in environmentalism that are obsessed with a space rat, and they have it in with the government because they have this secret virus that will make us all back to the monkeys we once were. Meanwhile, Faye is stranded and out of gas, and she gets an item as the dying wish of a ship that she tries to raid. Okay,
honestly, you got.
I did pretty good. You
slipped in Faye being stranded.
I wanted to get Faye
you.
saving the day and in the ship with them, but
you didn't.
I know.
I think you set it up nicely, which you normally do.
A little more follow through this time.
A little bit. Yeah, you did better than last week, which is good. Still nothing near 2 weeks ago. That was really immaculate. Sure. But I think I would have liked to hear a little anything about the virus.
Mm-hmm. Well, but
maybe
I did say the virus.
Did you talk about turning people into monkeys?
That restores people back to the monkeys we came from. I said that exactly.
Did you?
I did. I said that they have a tie with the government because they have a secret virus that restores us back to the monkeys we came from.
Okay.
I want you to give me the grade I deserve, but I did say that.
Okay. All right, Zach. I will give you a solid B- this week.
Okay. But why? What did I not say?
Zach, I'm going to be honest. The beginning feels rehearsed, and that hurts me a little. I want it to be spontaneous. I want it to come from your heart. I know it's not rehearsed, but I need it to come from your heart.
No, I'll be honest.
And that didn't have a whole lot of flair.
I've been thinking about it since the first time I watched it.
Sure.
I don't think that's the rule of the game. In fact, I've always wished you would put more thought into yours.
Here's the thing, Zach. The lowest scores I've ever gotten for you when I wrote something down, because you said it had no fire, no panache. Lowest scores I've ever gotten are the 2 times I did that.
Okay, I'm not gonna. You can give me whatever score you want.
Yeah, I think B- is pretty good, Zach.
Sure.
I think I make the rules because I'm the judge here. I hold all the power.
I am not the type of person that won't put any thought into it. Like, it's always going to be something I've thought of already.
All right, and I will always be the judge of this game and lay my hammer down with authority. B-.
So I thought maybe once we started talking about the cartoon show, things would get a little bit lighter and a little more on track. Can I just say something?
Yeah.
I fucking love this. This is fun.
This is fun.
I'm having a good time.
This is great. I'm glad me too.
I like it when we argue and get heated like this. We don't really do this that much.
Well, no, we don't often bring up. I think our low point is still the Jared from Subway one. That one was rough.
Man,
that was
like
a fun listen.
Okay, we've got 9 minutes left. We haven't talked shit about the episode.
So Zach, would you say this is your favorite episode?
I have this great idea because we did a April Fool's Day joke last year, and Lily said you cannot do that. That's too far. So I'll bring it up on this since we can say whatever the fuck we want on here. Apparently, I thought it'd be really funny if for our April Fool's Day joke we announced our new podcast, which is an episode by episode rewatch of the Cosby Show. And we don't record it or anything, but we release this show trailer and fake release date for the Cosby guys.
Just be Cosby.
Well, we just think
just be Cosby can.
We just think it's really good timing to maybe get an interview out of him. Okay.
Yeah, our plan is to just show up at Bill Cosby's house with a bag full of fucking McDonald's and be like, "Hey, Bill. We gotta talk to you."
And he can't see anymore, so he'll be really rattled.
We'll just say it's Michael Moore and Samuel L. Jackson, and he'll be fine.
So I'm thinking...
You're Samuel L. Jackson, obviously.
We'll get the word out there. Joe Rogan's podcast. You, me, Mr. Cosby. And we're all going to talk about global warming, which ties back into this episode of Cowboy Bebop, which has an environmentalist edge. And everyone remember, please reduce, reuse, recycle.
Now,
Thank
Zach,
you. This
I have
has
a
been
question
Brokeback
for you.
Bebop. We'll see you next week.
That's it. That's the show. Yeah. I have a question for you, Zach. How do you feel about environmental terrorism?
I'm crying. I'm literally laughing to the point of crying. I'm sorry. I don't think that's ever happened. Okay, what?
How do you feel about environmental terrorism? Somebody blowing up an oil rig to save the dolphins or whatever the fuck they do. I don't know.
You blow up an oil rig, the oil's going to go all over the place. That's probably the worst thing to do for them dolphins.
Yeah, I didn't say they were well aimed. I don't know. I'm not an environmental terrorist, clearly, Zach. I don't know what they do.
I don't know. Because
that's a thing.
Yeah. Okay, calm down.
Eco-terrorism is real, Zach.
and I'm not afraid to say it.
And I will stand up here in front of you, just a man.
I don't know. I think global warming is real. Sorry, all the conservatives listening to Brokeback Bebop. I don't know. I do think it's interesting in this episode the way that it's a band of terrorists that like come from a good thing, and often don't they? Like most terrorist groups are extremist of a religion, and it starts in something good, and the initial desire is good, but it's become to the point where this group of people can't see someone eating a certain thing at a restaurant without shooting up the entire restaurant, which was a badass scene, by the way, but it was fucked up. I don't know what do I think about, well, I guess I asked you, so religion, huh? And you like science? Pfft, bullshit. There's no God, right? Say it. Say it on mic. There ain't shit when we die. And now you have the audacity to ask me? I wonder if, and I don't think it really does, but does it send a bad message that the bad guys in this episode are these environmentalist extremists? Does it send a bad message to the idea of saving the planet when people are extremists, like it does when people are terrorists of a
honestly,
religion?
I think that it paints a more realistic picture of it. You know, you have a group that literally was just trying to keep the place safe, but then one person gets ahead of it and has some pull and the authority and kind of that, you know, can-do attitude. We're gonna make some shit happen. And next thing you know, you're killing people to save sea rats.
Well, that's what I liked about
also,
this
Zach,
episode.
you called them space rats in your
Space rats. They're sea
rundown.
rats.
That
Okay.
also hurt
That's
you a
fair.
little bit.
But you didn't think of it until just now.
Oh, I thought of it when you were saying it. I just didn't want to.
Sure.
I didn't want to
fair.
fight.
That's fair. It's a space show. Space rats. They're space sea
Space
rats, are
rats.
they not?
Well,
That's
actually,
fair.
no,
That's
Zach. They are inherent to Earth.
Fuck. What did I? I wanted to say something.
You get a little more Jet this episode. How'd you like that?
No, fuck you. I'm hosting the show for a second. What I did like about this episode was this was the first time where I really had any investment at all in the like story of the week. Because, last week I was more invested, but it was mainly because I knew I was supposed to care about Faye, so I did. This episode, I think the whole idea of the terrorist group that started as a good thing, I think that's interesting. I think that she's a mother-like figure, and all of these weird guys call her mommy and wear rat heads on. I think that's like the most creative thing this show has done so far as like on an episode-by-episode basis. I was really intrigued with this story. Especially when the government became involved and wait, why are they taking her bounty away? I thought this was like the best written one-off adventure, and the fact that also last episode I was like, well, what happens to Faye? You get plenty of this, and they get her into the group in a really badass way. She gets to save the day, and then it ends after this is kind of a heavy episode. 8 million people almost get turned into monkeys. At the end of the episode, it's a cute moment about, so I guess she lives here now, and they're annoyed, but like with the dog, you can tell that they're like the more the merrier at the same time. You say Jet. I think especially I like Jet's line at the end of the episode that he keeps saying, I don't know, and I don't have an opinion on it. Because he does, and it says everything through that. I still want to see more from Jet. I like that we got him talking straight with one of his former coworkers and getting the information that he needed out of why this woman doesn't have a bounty anymore. I guess I did like that, but I still want a little bit more out of Jet than what we've got so far. But we are getting there. We're
getting to more of a, these characters, we're starting to see a little bit more who they are.
Yeah,
I'm excited because now that Faye is officially like on the Bebop, you don't have to introduce them anymore, so we get to have more like actually fleshed out interactions and things like that. I agree.
What else do we want to talk about? I mean, we've talked about the episode like 4 minutes of it. I feel like we just covered a lot of it, honestly.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk more about it because I did really enjoy this one. I thought this one was really fun.
But I know you pointed out one song in particular that you liked. We've talked about so many other
things that it's hard for me to remember watching it a half hour ago now. Yeah, the song that was in was it like the beginning
it was
of
like
the episode? Near the beginning?
Yeah, kind of. Near the beginning.
There was music that I liked more in this one. I am starting to like I knew that this was like the music show. And honestly, I'm someone who I really like and love and appreciate music score or movie scores or TV scores. That's what I meant. I really appreciate it, but I don't often engage with it as its own thing. It's more about
Sure.
the whole thing together. And I don't know if this quite goes past that for me yet. But the first couple episodes, I was like, yeah, I mean, the music's good, but I don't know if I'm going to be...
Yeah.
When you're told to like something because of this so much, like, am I really going to get in it, or is it going to be, like, faking it? But this episode, I was starting to notice music that I did really enjoy that I thought fit the scenes very well. What do we
Nice.
get as far as action this week? We get a really intense space battle.
Yeah, they're in
which was
hyperspace. Which I kind of like that because this takes place so far in the future, like kind of like, you know, and we poked fun at it a little bit, but Jet's line about, didn't you pay attention in physics class? Like, this happens in hyperspace, which, like, in that world that they're in is common knowledge, you know, to somebody who's educated. And that's kind of like, they just live in that. That's how they get so far so fast, is they go through
Yeah.
these hyperspace tunnels. Like, I like that the stakes. I like that. What I like most about that scene where Jet and Faye are trying to get out of hyperspace before they close the gate and the bombs go off, is they like have enough dialogue that you know what's going on, but a lot of it's just left to the music and the look on their faces. I think Spike's especially animated in a way where his like intensity, and he's like feel like he's flying for his life to get out of there.
See, I almost feel the opposite. I feel like I see a lot of that on Faye. I feel like Spike, I still kind of am bored by Spike.
Sure.
I don't dislike him, and I'm sure it's because I feel like I still don't know anything about him other than he'll eat anything, and that his head is teeny tiny and he's really tall.
Yeah.
What more do you need? Come on, big old shoulders, little old head. He smokes.
I don't dislike him, but he's got a lot more like, oh, this guy's really cool without like,
Yeah.
They show me that he does cool things, but they don't show me like why he's a cool guy or like why he's the main character of the show. When frankly, like right now, and I know we get
here's what I'll
backstories
say,
of everybody
Zach,
later.
is the very next episode we watch is one of the best episodes of the show, and you get a whole lot of Spike backstory.
The preview at the end of this episode did imply that they started playing the music from the beginning of the first episode, that like little flash forward. And honestly, I'm sure I'll be invested in it and love it, but it almost made me like, well, come on, I just got everybody together and I'm just not getting into it, and now I have to learn all this other stuff. God. But I'm sure I'll like it.
I honestly, Zach, I'll say the next 6 episodes is a pretty strong run.
Okay, and I think this was the first episode that I was here for in just about every way. And usually I give the show the 4-episode test, and if I had done it, I would watch the next one.
You'd be
I
on,
think.
because this episode would have kept
especially knowing that there's only 26 episodes. And honestly, buddy, man, podcasting about it is already proving to be more fun than I thought it would be.
I'm really enjoying it.
We're going down all types of wormholes. I've been having a lot of fun. Let's take a couple more minutes, because we really didn't give the episode enough time.
Sure.
I love, and I said it a little bit, I love the villain this week. I think the mom character is really interesting.
She's great.
Her demeanor, the way that she dances when they're like blowing up the restaurant at the beginning, I think she's really interesting. It did give me some Mom from Futurama vibes with all of the,
I like the kind of image they paint of her as like a, you know, she started out as like a hippie, like peace person, right? And then somewhere along the line, and one of the things about this show is we don't ever get every piece of every story. We only see people as they are now, and sometimes we get tidbits of the past, right? But
sometimes their story ends in the episode, but sometimes they get away and more is going to happen.
Right. And like in her character, she's one who she lived a life of trying to be peaceful, and, you know, very well she might have seen, okay, this isn't working. Here's what I have to do now.
Yeah.
And you can tell that she's kind of descended into a little bit of craziness.
We don't really know why or how, but do you think it's power based that she becomes the figurehead of this thing where she starts having some weight where she can do something with it? And it starts with like it starts with like make it so people, she's trying to get them to prohibit just the killing of the animal.
Yeah, to make it illegal to hunt them.
It starts with like trying to get in with legislation, which is good, and to try to like move her point forward. And it's developed into do this or I will kill you, or like not just that humans need to do better, but that like humans are the problem and need to be removed from the situation. It is interesting. It's an interesting character. I'm sure we maybe don't see any more of this, and do we see any more of this? I didn't think so, and although I'm intrigued to see more, if there are more episodes like this that leave me wanting more out of the concept that I'm seeing, I think I am going to grow to really like the show.
Nice. Well, I hope so. I like I said, it's one of my favorite shows, so I'm happy we're taking this trip.
Well, let's move on. Let's put someone behind the steering wheel?
Who's the captain this week? Who gets to sit in the captain's chair?
For me, it's easily all the whiny mommy boys with the rat heads.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things.
Harrison stands out. He's the one she does turn into.
Mommy!
Mommy, no!
And it's so funny because Harrison's such this little cuck bitch that'll do anything for her, and then she's like, nah, you're a zombie. Or you're a monkey now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you can tell she doesn't view them as her children, you know.
I would say honorable mention this week to the titular mommy herself, and also Faye had a good episode.
I gave my captain's chair to the squeaky little sea rat toy that's on the desk.
Yeah.
I think that it really has an important role as the figurehead for an entire species, and it holds that position with dignity and class. Yeah.
I agree with you. I love that that's how the episode kind of ends, fixated on the little sea rat.
Yeah.
How it's just this little animal that caused all of this trouble, but it's just a little animal. It doesn't know. Mm-hmm. Well, Steven, how can we... This has been quite the episode of Brokeback Bebop.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot today. We hope you guys are still...
We literally went from the beginning of everything until here.
Until...
into the future.
And I feel like
when you have a bee-boopy spacesuit with magnet
I feel like
feet.
there are no questions to be asked after what we covered.
No, I think I understand it now pretty well.
Honestly, though, I love having a deeper conversation like this where we can disagree with each other. I think that was fun, and maybe this isn't the medium for it, but I hope that we get to do something like that more often.
Yeah, come on. Welcome to our new episode-by-episode podcast, The History of Everything, with Joe Rogan. So we're going to do some angel dust and talk about...
stuff like religion. Living in Indiana... It's easy to be surrounded by people that I'm like, oh, but they're stupid. So I get why they're doing these things. But I love and respect the hell out of you and your mom and your family. And your mom is a very religious person. And it fascinates me because it doesn't compute for me. And I love that about you guys. And let's sign this off from inside the Joe Rogan experience. I'm Zach.
I'm Steven.
And I almost... Never mind. I'm not gonna make that. I'm not gonna. That was something that was too far. I'm not gonna say it. I hope you guys all enjoyed. We'll be back next week to actually talk about Cowboy Bebop. I promise. Last week we talked all about Steven pegging himself while watching anime, and this time we talked about why white people should be able to say whatever they want. Not true. Bye.
Well,
everyone.
Jesus was white. He said what he wanted. Bye, Space Jesus. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Support this show and our podcast network at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast, where starting at $5 a month, you can get immediate access to all 40 outrageous sessions of Brokeback Bebop. See you next time, Space Cowboy.